Welcome back to this video series on how to make online learning not just a reality, but a good experience for the students in the fall. What we're going to see, more than likely, is because of people choosing to be online learners, other students being at the brick and mortar school but then getting sick and then having to go away, it might be a little tumultuous. But if we do the online learning environment well, it won't be nearly as tumultuous as it could be. And that's where we come in. We're going to design really well laid out plans within our LMS. You know, our school district uses Schoology and Seesaw, but regardless of the LMS you use, if you have certain elements inside of those courses, when the student joins the course, they won't be lost. They'll know what they need to do. They'll know how they need to do it. And they'll also understand the expectations from you, the teacher. So what's the first thing you need in a course? A welcome. It is very important that you connect with your students. You need to welcome them. You need to introduce yourself. You need to introduce the course. You need to make a connection so that those students, some of whom may never set foot in your real classroom, they're totally digital. You need to connect to them, and they need to be able to go to that welcome video and feel like they are a part of that class. Another advantage of having a welcome video is it stays there in your course. Students can go back and watch it and see, who is my teacher? What do they expect from me? What does this course look like? All right? So that's super important. You're welcome. Me personally, I would have not just a video, but a letter. Okay, I would have both. That way, depending on where the student is, where the parents are, things like that, it would be very helpful. The next part is a course syllabus. Okay, I'm not the biggest fan of the traditional college syllabus. Most people don't even check them until it's, they get their final grade and they think, hey, what is the grading scale? Did I get an A? Did I get a B? And then go back and look at it. Why? Because most course syllabi are incredibly boring. They're awful, right? So what should you do? You need a course syllabus in your course. What does it need to look like? I would recommend you make it look like what you need it to look like. If you're teaching second grade, they don't need to have graphs about grading scales and the different objectives, lined up, and what does the State Department of Education expect of a teacher and a learner? It needs to be at the student's level. So create a syllabus. Basically have those elements of a syllabus, but make it appropriate to your kids. Tell them what is the grading scale. Tell them what you will cover. If you are that mapped out and you know what you're going to be doing for each unit or each week or each month, put that in there too, okay? Because a syllabus should be a map for the course. That way the student can go back to it, use it as a reference, and know where they are, right? A course syllabus also needs to have contact info. As a teacher of an online class, communication is of utmost importance. They aren't going to get those little cues from your body language or those little comments that you say when you hand them back the paper. They're going to miss out on all that. So communication to and from their teacher is going to make or break their experience in online class. The next part that I would highly recommend to have in your syllabus is an explanation of assignments. What do I mean by that? Well, in your class, you might have a discussion board or a journal entry. Well, another teacher at your same school might have the same thing. But what does a discussion board look like in an English class versus a trigonometry class versus a world history class? Expectations might be different even though the type of assignment has the same name, okay? So be sure to explain to your students not just what the assignment is asking, but explain to them what do you expect as a teacher, okay? Don't just assume that they're going to know what to do, okay? The next part is just kind of some housekeeping things. Well, do you have a required textbook? What is it? Where does the student get it? Do they have to log in to get the online textbook? How do they do that? So you have a lot of little housekeeping things that you have to do for your students as well that need to be in your syllabus. Any websites? A good part about online learning, to me, my opinion of course, is that it is so easy to augment the learning experience of the student. A syllabus is a great place to have additional websites that you like to reference. Let's say you're an ELA teacher and you like to have students doing the occasional exercise on vocabulary. Well, include that website on there. Make sure students and their parents or guardians know where to access these things. The last bit is apps, right? Or apps. Our school uses Apple products, and so we're using mainly iPads in the classroom. Well, what app do they use? How do they get to it? Which one do they download? These are details you need to include in your syllabus, okay? Sometimes apps have a very similar name to another one. Well, you need to be sure that students are very clear on which one they're getting, especially because it will eventually impact their grade if they download the wrong thing or are unaware that they need to download in the first place. Lastly, for the success of an online learning environment, I believe you need a quiz on the welcome, okay? Each student needs to go through, see your welcome, read the syllabus, understand what's expected, and then they need to sign off. Whether it's a bona fide quiz where you ask them questions and they have to answer it and they must make a certain score, or if it's a contract where they sign it and say, you know what, I understand the expectations laid out to me by my teacher, and I understand that if I don't meet these expectations, my grade will suffer. It's super important that they do that. Why? Because a connotation of online learning is that it's easier or less rigorous, and that should not be the case. You should have the same level of rigor and the same requirements as a brick and mortar classroom. And your students aren't going to meet that if it's not laid out there in front saying, these are the expectations. So be sure to have students sign off with a parent or guardian signature, okay? That way, if there's ever questions, you can always come back to it and say, you know what, at the beginning we had this agreement that you would do this. I would definitely recommend you use that time as well to have a learning contract with your students and say, you know what, this is what I expect as a teacher. What's one thing or two things that you would like to learn in this classroom? And let's make that work. So once again, those are the required items that you need to have in an online course to ensure students feel welcome, have a place in your course, understand what is expected of them, and also shows that they not only understand it, but they agree to that. Thanks for watching. In the next video, very short video, we're going to use examples of online learning. That way you can kind of see what it looks like and how it's been used. Thanks for watching.